to me to have Cody Whitehair on the list anymore, but he made sense for the Bears. That's a good pick. They traded down actually in round 2 as well. Once Packers leapfrogged them to get tackle Jason Spriggs, but I still think they got the guy they should have taken because of the player position flexibility. Then in round 3 they get defensive lineman, defensive end, defensive tackle Jonathan Bullard out of Florida. That's another really solid pick. They had 3 picks in round 4, which maybe one of them will hit on. I do like the safety that they took, Deion Bush, and not just because his last name is Bush, and you know what guy doesn't like Bush. But we also got DeAndre Hall, cornerback from Northern Iowa, and Nick Kwiatkowski, inside linebacker of West Virginia. And then in round 5, Jordan Howard, running back from Indiana. That is a great freaking value pick at running back there. Then in round 6, another safety, DeAndre Houston Carter, who I was big on from William and Mary. I like that a lot. I just don't know why you took 2 safeties. And then their final pick was Daniel Braverman, wide receiver. So I have the Bears graded out at a solid B+, like I said. And then with the worst draft in the division, by far, in my opinion, the Green Bay Packers. Taking Kenny Clark, defensive tackle, nose tackle, in the first round at pick 27. That's horribly reaching. Horribly reaching. You could have taken him in round 2. Anywhere in round 2. But you can't do that. And then they didn't have a ton of picks to begin with. So you can't be reaching on a guy when you don't have a lot of picks. You can trade down, accumulate more picks, and still get your guy. That's bad drafting. Then in the second round, they traded up to leapfrog the Bears with the Colts, and they drafted offensive tackle Jason Spriggs out of Indiana. Really, really good player. I like that pick there, but it doesn't. They've got 2 Pro Bowl starters right now at tackles, so they're just drafting that for depth and partially just to take away from the Bears, I felt. Round 3 got a really good value pick at a position in need, outside linebacker Kyler Fackrell. Round 4, inside linebacker Blake Martinez, defensive end Dean Lowry, and then in round 5, wide receiver Trevor Davis, and in round 6, offensive tackle Kyle Murphy. Some people feel the Packers have a good draft. I feel that the Packers draft was pretty mediocre at best. I give them a C+. That's right, just barely above average. They didn't bomb it, but they didn't do very good either. There were a lot of easy ways that they could have improved their draft, not by taking anyone different. Like I said, it's not just because they picked a few guys that I don't like. They didn't play the draft well. Not very, very little to do with who they actually selected. More about where they selected them, how they acquired them. But so that should make Vikings fans happy that the Packers, without question, had the worst draft of all 4 teams in the NFC North. And don't believe anybody else that tries to tell you otherwise. They're a moron. If the Vikings had a really strong draft, the Lions had a really strong draft, and the Bears had a really strong draft. The Packers, they had an okay draft. And that's just the way it is. So, all right, moving on to other teams, other divisions. All right, so let's move then quickly to the NFC South. We'll start with the Atlanta Falcons, who in the first round took the second safety off of the board at pick 17, when, like I said, we were told for months that none of the safeties should go in the first round. Keanu Neal out of Florida. Then in round 2, they selected inside linebacker Deion Jones out of LSU. Round 3, they got a very much-needed tight end, Austin Hooper, out of Stanford. In round 4, they took Gopher, outside linebacker / defensive end, Devondre Campbell. So we were happy for that. Then they had no pick in round 5. In round 6, they took Wes Schweitzer, guard from San Jose State. And in round 7, they took Devin Fuller, wide receiver. Now, the one I'm looking at has them graded really low. I can't stand the first round pick. Like, the first round pick is awful. Not acquiring more picks when they only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total picks in the draft is inexcusable. But their mid-round picks with 2, 3, and 4. I like inside linebacker Deion Jones at 52. I like tight end Austin Hooper at 81. And I like outside linebacker Devondre Campbell at 115. So that's where their positive grades for me come in. Overall, I give them a C. bombed, and for all the reasons why. Like to me, their negatives and their positives right now are just, it's completely average C. We'll wait and see on this one. Now, in the event that Keanu Neal ends up being the next frickin' Earl Thomas or Cam Chancellor or something like that, then this definitely goes up from a C to a B, or even better possibly. But for right now, it's just a C. Then we move on. Let's move on to the Super Bowl runner-ups, Carolina Panthers. This one, holy cow, this team had a grand total of 5 picks in the whole draft. They lost Josh Norman. They got no wide receivers. They're about to have no running back. They need offensive tackles. And so going in with 5 picks, yeah, they end up with 5 freaking picks. With their first one, they pick a player who plays their best, strongest position on the entire football field, defensive tackle, Vernon Butler. Then in round 2, they take James Bradbury, safety, out of Samford. I've seen like the top 15 to 20 safeties that were all ranked in different orders. Never once did James Bradbury's name from Samford, not Sanford, not Stanford, Samford. Not once did his name ever come up. So monstrous reach at that position and that player as well. Well, they could have traded up 5 spots to get Von Bell if they had some picks. And then in the 3rd round, they take cornerback Daryl Worley from West Virginia. That is not a bad pick. Area of need, decent value, decent player in that round. Then in round 5, they took Zach Sanchez. Doesn't even say what position he plays. I'm not sure. Sanchez finished with tight end. Or no, he's not. Sanchez is not a tight end. Don't know what Zach Sanchez out of Oklahoma is. But then their final pick was Bo Sandland, tight end from Montana State. And the Carolina Panthers get a D- for my draft grade. I mean, did you listen to that garbage? The list of 5 freaking garbage players that I just read for you? Vernon Butler might be decent, but it's going to be hard to find out because you ain't going to see the field on that team. And then Daryl Worley, 3rd round corner from West Virginia. Like I said, that's a good value and it's at a position of need. That's really the only thing that kept them from getting an F was Daryl Worley in round 3. That's where they salvaged a D- from yours truly. And let's see, what do I have? Oh, yeah, these experts have him at a C. Yeah, well, screw you guys, you're morons. All right, then we got the New Orleans Saints, who in round 1, as I mentioned, took defensive tackle Sheldon Rankins. But position of need, a lot argue he's the best, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't know. You know, this defensive tackle class, the safety class, this wide receiver class, a lot of hard reads. But then the Saints in round 2, holy guacamole, they definitely get the round 2 award. Wide receiver, the guy I liked the most out of all the wide receivers in this draft class, wide receiver Michael Thomas from Ohio State goes 47th overall to the Saints. And then with a second round pick from New England via Arizona, the Saints select the other guy that I wanted the Vikes to take, Von Bell, safety from Ohio State University. However, then they have no picks in round 3, 5, or 6. Their only picks remaining then are in rounds 4 and 7, where they get in round 4 David Onyemata. David Onyemata. That's wow, that's the best name ever. David Onyemata, defensive tackle out of the University of Manitoba. Ooh, some Canadian football, eh? And round 7, running back Daniel Lasco from California. They got 3 right now starters at position of needs from day 1, and a 4th that can provide depth and maybe become something else. I just don't like the lack of picks in areas of need that they were able to meet. However, I love who they got. So they're a B/B+. We'll give them a solid B. We'll just stick with the B, okay? I'll get rid of the slashes and pick one for you guys. Vikes, A-, by the way. not the B+. Then finally, in the South, we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in round 1, trading down 2 spots. They get the man they coveted at the spot they were sitting at. Vernon Hargreaves, the third cornerback from Florida. Love that pick. In rounds 2, they had 2 kick players. Defensive end Noah Spence, Eastern Kentucky, who's an athletic freak. A lot of people had him going round 1. And then in the other kind of big story of the trade, of the draft, they trade up in the second round to draft Robert Agoyo, kicker from Florida State. So many people knee-jerked this as the worst trade in the history of the draft. Those people are morons, okay? Do you watch football games? Did you watch any Vikings games last year? Did you watch maybe the final Vikings game of the season last year in the playoffs against the Seattle Seahawks? Kickers are effing important, man. They determine points, okay? Every time they come out on the field, it's either a play that scores points for your team or a play that doesn't score points for your team and was expected to and hoped to. Points you thought you had earned and were going to get on the board. So kickers are hugely important. Plus, with moving the extra point back from a chip shot at the 2-yard line to a 33-yard field goal, what if it's a 21-14 game? Okay? You just scored a touchdown at the end of the game. Well, you need your kicker to be good enough to make that clutch 33-yard field goal / extra point now to tie it up and send it into overtime. It's not a chip shot. It's a very missable kick that's extremely important to the outcome of a game. So as long as this guy is good, and what I've seen is everything inside 40 yards, he's the most accurate kicker ever to enter the NFL coming out of college. Ever. No one's ever been more accurate than this kicker inside of 40 yards. Outside of 40 yards, there's plenty of room to improve, but he doesn't stink. He's right around 71, 72% for his career in college outside of 40 yards. Guess what the league average last year in the NFL was? Between 71 and 72%. Yeah. So he's right where the rest of the league is outside of 40. And as a rookie, he might already be one of the, if not the best in the league, inside 40. So I have no problem whatsoever with that freaking pick. And the only thing I don't like about it is the trading up to get him, because that suggests that you actually thought there was a team in between where you were picking and where you ended up picking that was going to take him, that was thinking the same thing. Otherwise, there was no need to trade up to get him. The only thing I don't like about it, you want to take a kicker in round 2, if you got a kicker situation, you don't have a good kicker, you need a good kicker, then by all means, take a freaking kicker. Like, it's an important position, it's an important part of the team. So this whole worst trade ever nonsense, don't buy that for a second. It was an unnecessary trade up for a player, and the only reason that we're all so certain of that is because of the position the player plays. But you never know. Maybe there was a team in front of them that was going to take him, and he was the only kicker that was worthy, of anything like this, and they got him, and now maybe they've got their kicker for the next 15 years, and he's an elite level kicker for 15 years, and that's just something they cross off their list and never have to worry about. Like, that's huge, man. Are you kidding me? Come on. All right, but so then anyway, moving on for the Bucs draft. In round 4, they took cornerback Ryan Smith out of North Carolina Central. Round 5, they took offensive tackle Caleb Beninoch. Beninoch? I don't know. Anyway, in round 6, they took outside linebacker out of Oklahoma, Devontae Bond. That's how I should have did that. Dang it. And then with their final pick in round 6, they selected fullback from Northwestern, son of Dick Vitale, Dan Vitale. Actually, I don't think he's Dick Vitale's son, but hey, you never know. The alliteration plus the last name, it's possible. All right. But so for the Bucs, overall, I gave a B+. They had the best draft in their division, followed by the Saints, followed by the Falcons, and finally the Panthers. All right, well, we got 2 more divisions here in the NFC. Let's get to these quick. NFC West, Arizona Cardinals, round 1. Defensive tackle, Robert Kimdichie, Ole Miss. Good value, questionable character, see if it works out.